Hey, what's going on, y'all? I want to welcome y'all to back for another amazing episode. I got a special guest in the building. But before we get started, y'all already know what we call ourselves, aka the New Green Book, aka the #1 travel podcast in the world. If you've been rocking with the podcast so far, you've been vibing with the show, what I want y'all to do, I want y'all to make sure that y'all leave a review, man. This actually helps us get ranked, in all podcasting platforms. Make sure that you'll follow us on YouTube and Instagram, the Melanated Traveler. You can actually see this video show that we're going through now, the audio on the podcast, but the video on YouTube at SNR Williams. And again, I got a special guest in the building. This one is special for many, many reasons. So let me just get into it. So this is episode number 11. This is the last episode of the season. This is the finale episode. I couldn't choose or the way the world works a better guest than Jose, man. So I'm gonna get straight into it. So his name is Jose. Jose in Spanish, LeBron. In English, LeBron. You know what I'm saying? AKA Jet Set Jose. You know, one thing about Jose, he's a travel creator that goes to uncharted territory. A lot of people go to a lot of these popular places, and it's not a knock at that. But the fact that he goes to these uncharted territories, these uncharted destinations, not only does he go to these destinations, he immerses himself in the culture in many, many ways that we're about to dive deeper into. And one thing that I truly appreciate about Jose, he has it in the background. I gotta give a shout out to the greatest fraternity in the world, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. You know, yes, indeed. I told y'all it was special. So we brothers in a different way.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, I got to tell you this straight up, man. I actually was a fan of yours through the way you show certain destinations and countries, man. We actually met by me, pause, dropping in your DMs. Dropping in your DMs and saying, "Hey, bro, like your content is dope," and that's how we started talking. I do have to tell you this. I saved this. I saved this to say this on the show. You're the person that actually intrigued me to go to Peru. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Peru was definitely at the bottom of my list, man. But looking at your content, the way I seen Peru through your eyes, it truly inspired me to go to Peru. And if anybody that follows me, I just recently was in Peru this past July, and Peru was absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So without further ado, y'all, I have just said Jose, aka Jose LeBron. If y'all want to call him LeBron, y'all could do that. Welcome, bro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. For real. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
man. Yeah, man. It's good to finally have you on, man. We're gonna dive straight into it. Just your mindset as a traveler, right? Um, a lot of people there's methods out there, right? There's methods out there. People researching on TikTok, they may look at Instagram and look at some of these popular destinations, i.e. Jamaica, i.e. Let's say Costa Rica, Canada, some of these places that truly are a common name amongst people that live in America and the UK. What made your mindset decide that, you know what, I'm gonna go down the uncharted path and I'm gonna go to places that nobody talk about? Where does that come from, that mindset? Have you always been that way?
Actually, nah. I mean, I didn't really start traveling. I mean, so I'm Puerto Rican. Let's start off with that, right? So a lot of my family is still based out in Puerto Rico. So growing up, I would always go for an entire month every single year to Puerto Rico. But I didn't really start traveling until I became a nurse. And like once I actually could like afford to like actually like book trips and stuff, that's when I really started to like travel. I think the first time was 2017. That's when I first went on a trip, and I just wanted to do something different. I didn't just want to do what my family did. And then from there, that's when everything kind of like ignited, and I just started going off right there. Um, my whole thing is just have a different experience. I don't want to just be like cookie cutter. I want to see the whole world. So eventually you got to like break into that, you can't stay in your comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone. So let's dive straight into it. So that's when I started going Belize. I started going like even in like places that people typically travel to. I go off the beaten path. and that's what excites me.
Yeah, I feel the same. We share the same regard. I think for me, and I brought this up before, but the mindset that we have. So like my first country ever in life was El Salvador, bro. Like nobody wasn't talking about El Salvador. Now you see things are starting to pick up, and but nobody was talking about El Salvador a year from now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I decided to go to El Salvador because, for one, El Salvador used to be the most dangerous country ranked in the world. The president, the new president came in, he did his thing with pretty much cleaning up the cartel and the gangs over there. And El Salvador was a country that truly shocked me, man. It truly shocked me. And not for 1 second was I fearful. I think growing up, and that's why I leaned into that question. I think growing up, I've always been that individual that say, you know what, everybody's doing this. Like, I'll give you a prime example. Everybody was rocking J's. Nothing against J's. Nothing against J's. But my mom was like, look, you could buy one pair of Jordans for the entire school year, or you could buy two for $89.99. I was that two for $89.99 type of person. That's
My
just the way I think. But yeah, man, that's a good mindset to have for the people that's listening. Like, you know, it's other ways, and we're gonna dive into it. There's other ways to get information on these uncharted countries to where you don't feel like, hey, all right, I don't see too many people going here. I'm kind of nervous about going here. I don't really know. But before we even get in there, man, honestly, man, Puerto Rico, like, honestly, I feel like even though they have great deals to Puerto Rico at many different major cities in the United States, I still feel like people don't have as much appreciation for Puerto Rico as they should. So I just want to spend some time on your culture just for a second, about Puerto Rico and why people should visit Puerto Rico, like, your upbringing in Puerto Rico, and even though is U.S. territory, that people still should go there and check it
Oh,
out.
so like the thing with Puerto Rico that a lot of people don't realize, they have like a kind of like a misconception that Puerto Rico is just like, it's different, it's dangerous. It's really not. It's like being in the United States. You have like those comforts, but it's also very different. It's a completely different culture. If you stay where most of the tourists stay, you're basically fine with just English. Puerto Rico is part of the US, so even though Spanish is the primary language around the entire island, English is also widely taught. So a lot of people are actually bilingual. And if you stay where like the tourists stay, like San Juan, like that area up there, English is pretty dominant out there. But the whole island as a whole, like, it's so underrated. Like, people just stay in the touristy areas, explore the whole
Mhm.
island, explore beyond the shore. I remember that was a slogan when I was growing up, and I come from a small town out there, so I was able to maneuver around. Um, but the food, amazing, amazing flavor. You're gonna have some real good food, amazing drinks. It's an island that has something for everyone. If you like adventure, you like parties, like water activities, hiking, luxury, budget, boutique, all of that, like something for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, and then even apart from that, like natural beauty, cityscapes. So I used to go every single year up until I was 14. I decided to go back 2021. So I had like a 15-year gap, something like that. And I decided to take my girlfriend at the time to Puerto Rico. And it was her first time that I wanted to expose her to everything. So I was like, we're going everywhere around the entire island in a matter of 5 days. So I started picking out like different natural places.
Mhm.
Um, let me see. So primarily people think of San Juan. They think of El Morro, which is one of the famous forts in Puerto Rico. They like to look at the cobblestones. That's all in the capital and stuff,
Mhm.
which is beautiful. Like, honestly, there's the Yunque, which is the only rainforest in the US, right? So that's also pretty notable. But let's go further than that. We have 3 bioluminescent bays on the main island. A bioluminescent bay is when you go into the water, you touch the water glows. Like, there's only
Mhm.
a handful of places around the entire world that do that. Some of the best beaches in the world, if you go to the island of Culebra, there's Flamenco Bay, considered one of the top beaches. But apart from that, there's a lot of places that people don't know about. If you look at my Instagram, like there's a rainbow bridge up in the mountains. That's the town of Ajuntas. Very beautiful. There's Cañón Blanco, which is it's when you translate it, it's white canyons. So it's like white rocks and like a river flowing through it. Picturesque, beautiful, and you're surrounded by nothing but nature. There's honestly so many places, so many artistic places too. I went to Yauco, and after I went, so many American influencers started going down there too. And it's like the entire town is very artistic. Every house is a different color. There's like mosaics, so many like vibrant colors. If you go on my page, it's like one of my like highlighted like posts. It's gorgeous, and it's just so much.
Absolutely beautiful.
Definitely.
Absolutely beautiful, man. Like, let's talk about like, what do you think? I want to shift gears just for a second. What do you think people? What do you think stops people from going the uncharted path? And this episode is going to be spent not necessarily convincing people to go the uncharted path, but the mindset that they should take as a traveler. Everybody travels different, but I feel like in order to diverse yourself, immerse yourself into the culture, you have to go down the uncharted path if you really want the real of whatever country you're in, right?
100%. It's like you said, it's a mindset. You know, I think where people fall into the trap, and I'm not saying trap as in a bad thing. I think we're like, you know, as humans, we're creatures of comfort. People just get too comfortable. Even like I'm from New York, right? And people look at it as like this great place, like everyone should go there and visit. But even here in New York, you got people who never leave like their borough. There's people in the Bronx, just stay in the Bronx. People in Brooklyn, just stay in Brooklyn. Like, yo, maybe go check out Queens, go to Manhattan. People just get too comfortable. And then they also hear things from other people too. They're like, oh, why are you gonna go over there? Everything you need is already here. Okay, yeah, but there's different. And maybe that different like changes your perspective on everything else. Maybe you learn how to do something differently. Maybe some of the best food might be in that other borough. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much different things out there, but people just stay too comfortable. Like expand your horizons a little bit.
Definitely. You got to go on the uncharted path. I'll give another example. Like, you know, I'm gonna stick with El Salvador. Like with El Salvador, everything is so spaced out. Everything is so spaced out, and San Salvador is actually they don't have much to do in San Salvador. But for me, the place that people told me not to go was the local markets. I went to the local markets. I want to be where the locals are. That's the way I travel. Like I want to be where the locals are. I want to talk and communicate. What made me diverse myself into the culture, i.e., Spanish culture, and start to learn the language. Man, I'm so competitive. I got so pissed off that I couldn't communicate with the people, man, because I'm a sociable type of person, and that's what motivated me to learn the language. So I encourage people to do that. You know what I'm saying? To do that. If traveling to Latin countries is your thing, if you have the means to get a tutor, get a teacher. Shout out to Paola, that's my teacher. If you don't, it's apps that you can, get involved in with Duolingo, Bazoo. Try to learn the language as well, because what I've noticed is that yes, the people are always going to be nice. They're always going to be welcoming. But if you at least try, if you at least try to speak that language, it's just so much receptive, and yeah, they really do appreciate it. And man, I want to shift gears first and foremost. A lot of people talk about Dominican Republic, but you went to Dominica.
Oh, I've been to both.
Like, yeah. Oh, you've been to both. You've been to both.
Yeah.
But
Dominican,
the one nobody talks about is Dominica. Man, I don't know. How do you go about finding these places? Like, share that with the people. How do you go about finding, like, you know what? Like, are you the type of person, like, you just look at a map and say, you know what? I'm gonna go here. Or do you more look for deals? Like what's your process or methods into finding some of these destinations?
So that question goes two different ways, you know. There's like, how do I find these places that are like hidden gems that even in locations that are very popular, or is it just like in general countries that most Americans and other people from like the Western world, like the UK or other developed nations, don't really travel to? Because
Hmm.
that question could be divided in two different ways. So which one you want me to answer?
I want you to answer it in a way to where you know where they going and you go the other way.
Okay.
You know
So
exactly where they going. You like, all
we
right, I know
talking country
people
wise.
normally go here. I'm going. Yep, I'm going this way.
Okay. So when I pick a country that other people don't really travel to, um, one of it is look at maps. Another thing is just look at the entire list of all countries in like alphabetical order and whatever like.
Mm,
So I've like legit studied every single country. I have a binder like this thick. On my free time, what I do is I just read up on different countries, like what's their language, where are they located, what's their currency, what is so special about them that makes them so unique compared to other places. But you asked me about Dominica. So Dominica is in the Caribbean. I do want to visit every single island in the Caribbean. Not every single country per se, but every single island, because some
mm,
countries have multiple islands. Um, so that was number one. I do want to visit every single Caribbean country. Um, in the last like year and a half, I've really spent a lot of time in the Caribbean. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Antigua, Montserrat, which that's also one of the least visited places on the entire planet. Dominica, you know. So I did spend a lot of time in those islands, and I started posting so much about it, and people are like, "Yo, you really like diving deep into the Caribbean? Like, why? Why so?" Because Puerto Rico is Caribbean, you know. And a lot of people get stuck up on the fact that we are Spanish speaking. A lot of Puerto Ricans tend to be lighter skinned. Yeah, because you know it's the proportions of the populations that
right.
did stay and mixed and everything like that. But yo, the food is very similar. Speaking patterns, because the islands over time did have a lot of interactions. So even like the Spanish that we have in Puerto Rico is a Caribbean type Spanish. It's a type of Creole, you know, like, but people don't really think about that. Our musical rhythms, our style of
Mhm.
dress, all of that, you know, it's a big melting pot. But going back to Dominica, so my fiance, so I went to Dominica as an engagement trip. That's where actually I proposed to my girlfriend.
Congrats to that, bro. I was waiting, man.
Yeah,
Congrats to that,
yeah,
man.
it's a lot, you
Congrats
know,
on
to
that.
unravel.
Yeah,
Um,
bro.
so when I was thinking about when I was going to propose to her, so she's Antiguan and Australian, right? I'm Puerto Rican, all Caribbean. Her islands are English speaking islands. I'm Puerto
Mm,
Rican, Spanish speaking island. So I was like, let's meet somewhere on neutral ground, an island that we don't speak the language primarily.
mm,
Um, so it was either going to be like French or like Dutch. Basically, that's what else is left in the Caribbean. So I looked at the Dutch islands. They're very more like luxury. The way I travel, I
mm,
want something that's less known and something where we can have a real dope experience. So that left the French islands. And then I started narrowing it down. And Dominica, yes, they are English speaking, but historically they were French speaking. And even today, if you go into the rural parts of the island, they still speak Dominican Creole, which is based off of French. So it's a French speaking
mm.
island.
Yep. I
Now
speak Creole too, by the way.
there you go. Southern Creole.
Yeah.
And I got Spanish Creole. Exactly. So
Uh-huh.
we got so yeah, so that's how I narrowed it down. Dominica, because I was looking for an uh island that had some French base to it. And then I started also looking at the different islands, what there is to offer. Dominica is known as the nature island. There's so many waterfalls out there. It's so green, so lush. It's one of the greenest islands that I've ever seen personally. And there's so much adventure there too. When I went with my girlfriend, one of the first activities that we did on like day number 2 was we went into some canyons. and there's waterfalls in those canyons, like caverns or whatever you want to call it.
Wow.
From the top of those waterfalls, you would dive into the water. I can't swim. I was scared. I was shook. You know what I'm saying? But as I said, sometimes you got to go outside of your comfort zone. Don't go
Yeah.
crazy out of your comfort zone. Like, you still want to live, you know what I'm saying? But push yourself just a little bit past your edge. And that's really where you start to like live life, you know? But yeah, I remember even with that one, like the last jump was 40-foot waterfall. And I can't swim, but I was just like, you know what? It was either rappel down or jump for it. My girl, so my fiance, she was like, she's gonna rappel. I'm like, nah, I'm doing it. So after like 2 people jump, I'm like, I'm doing it. I went, held onto that wall. I was like, let me hold my breath, yo, pray to God, and then just let myself go. Sometimes you just gotta let go and
Yeah.
live it up.
Yeah,
But that's
definitely, man.
Dominica, you know. I wanted something different, and when you gotta take the initiative too. You know, you gotta want to be able to do it. If you're not comfortable, like, go a little bit past your edge, and each time that you do travel, go a little bit more, a little bit more. Even with life, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't take that giant leap. You take those baby steps that slowly get you outside of your comfort zone, and over time, you start to open up. You get nice and loose. It's kind of like even this podcast. Like, as the minutes go on, my nervousness is going away. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
it. Yep.
life lessons, you know.
That's it, man. You brought up an interesting point, and I just want to share this, man. Honestly, I wasn't even going to share this, but
Uh-huh.
you just touched me, man. You just touched me, and I thank a lot of viewers and a lot of people that's going to be watching this later. You share something about living, and man, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. For those that's listening and watching, traveling saved my life, bro. Traveling saved my life, and 2 years ago, I was in a very dark place, man. Um, probably at my lowest financially. Uh, going through a divorce. Want some of the word that nobody wants to bring up, right? And bro, like not being able to see my son for a period of time. But for all those reasons, man, I was on the brink of suicide, bro. I was on the brink of suicide, and literally, travel saved my life, man.
That's
I seen my bro, my other. That's why I said this episode is special, because we share a bond. Even though we may not have known each other for years, but the bond that we share is different, man. As fraternity brothers, and my frat brother. Shout out to my link. I'm a quad. I'm a quad on my line. He's my Trey, and he started traveling. The same thing. He was going through a lot. He got his passport, man, and man, he started traveling everywhere. His first country was Cuba, and he just started posting. Yeah, yeah, that's his first. That was his first country.
that's like my country to visit too.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, bro.
that
So
was
he
a
he
banger.
started traveling, and he really just motivated me, man. Shout out to Jock, man. Shout out to my LB, and I got my passport, man, and I never looked back. And then at one point, matter of fact, when I went to El Salvador, honestly, I was like, Essen, what the hell are you thinking? Like, bro, I literally at one point in my life, bro, I literally sent a farewell message on Facebook saying to all my family and friends, I love y'all. Nobody caught it. Nobody caught it, but my mom called me. And I just couldn't live with myself knowing that, I was the last person that talked to, my mom. And man, traveling has saved me. So, and I'm not saying this, guys, for those that's watching or listening, as a sob story. I'm telling you this as a testimony as to what traveling can do, for you. The experience, meeting new people. I have met, including you, I have met some of my uh people that I truly can call a friend. People that genuinely care about what's going on in Aston's life. I've met some of my best friends while I was in Colombia this past August. You know, shout out to Jordan, shout out to Lex. I met them when I was in Medellin. We hiked Guadalupe, which is like 742 steps going up this mountain called El Pino. And
Yeah.
and bro, traveling changed my life. So I just had to. You really touched me with that story, man. I had to share that, and I know that's something that I never told you. Uh,
First
so
time I hear.
yeah, bro. I'm saying it live. I honestly, I wasn't even gonna bring this up, but but the way you described how your experience was in Dominica, it truly inspired me to bring that out. Um, and while I'm on that subject, guys, September is suicide prevention. I'm sorry, we're in October. September was suicide prevention month, but it's still important that if you're going through some things, guys, is reach out to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like me in the beginning. I literally went into like this mode of darkness. I wasn't talking to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't speaking to anybody. Make sure that you reach out to somebody, guys. And the world is a book. The world is a book. Go out there and travel, get experiences. I know our generation, we beating a midlife crisis by traveling now. I know we joke about that all the time, but really in all actuality, we're a generation that understands that life is short and that you need to live your life to the fullest, period. Money is always going to return, but not experiences. So I just had to share that, bro. Sorry, I interject. I just had to share that with
Nah,
everybody, man. Yeah.
yo, like what you said is real. It takes a lot of guts to actually admit that. Um, but what you said, like life is tough, man.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need that escape. I'll be real with you. Like I've never been to that point where it's like that low. But travel is my freedom. Like even my coworkers joke about it. When I go on trips and they FaceTime me and I'm like talking with them, like, yo, Jose,
Mhm.
I've never seen you so happy in my life. It's not that
Mhm.
I'm unhappy at home, but it's just like the way the society is out here, yo, you
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
working. You gotta like
Mhm.
watch your back because when the cop pulls you over, you don't know what's gonna happen, Like
Exactly.
even like walking to your car when you're in the city and stuff. You don't know what's gonna
Mhm.
happen. You gotta be ready. You're always on, when you travel, yeah, stay on, don't abandon everything. But I could breathe, and I smile. I'm more loose, more myself, you know.
Definitely. Definitely, man. And that leads me to the next point about connection. Like I Uncharted, Pat. Yes, we know that. What's some of your unique ways of connecting with the people in the country, like connecting with the locals, making sure ways that you support the locals, whether they be supporting vendors, on the street, or how you go about, connecting with those locals as well, like whether they be you know trying to learn their language or just interacting with them on a regular basis. How do you go about that?
So I think the connecting with people starts before I even start my trip. I usually plan
Mm,
my trip out about like a month in advance. Um, I'm a pretty quick learner when it comes to like languages. I'm like a sponge. So even when I went to Peru, I started teaching myself some Quechua, which is the indigenous language like that's spoken up in like Cusco. Um, it's very difficult to learn. I'll be completely honest, but I was able to get a couple phrases, and I was actually practicing with one of my friends. She speaks Quechua, but she's from Bolivia, so there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences in the types of Quechua that they speak. Um, but language, that's like the biggest connector. If you could learn the basic words, maybe a couple key phrases, it's going to take you so much further. Um, for example, France and French. I just came back from Malta, Sicily, and Paris. I've heard so much in the last couple years with France. It's either you hate it or you love it. And one of the biggest things like common denominators I've heard from people who don't like France is they say that the French people are rude because they don't know how to speak French, which I understand, you know. You're going to another country, at least get the basics down. Okay, yeah, you might mispronounce some things, but if you have the effort, people will open up a bit. Um, so I started teaching myself a little bit of French. I've been practicing with a couple coworkers that actually know how to speak French before I went, and I started reading a couple different things. When I was in France, I started communicating with the Uber drivers, with the airport agents. Like there was even one airport agent who was trying to speak with this one lady. She didn't understand um, French, so I helped translate for her. She was a Spanish speaker, so even though he was talking French and he knew a little bit of English, I was able to get most of his French, and then translated to her in Spanish, and I communicated that back in French, and I remember my fiance, she's in line like watching this, and she's like, yo, like how you get this down. But language does
Right.
open up. Personality, if you're an open person, you come genuine, pretty open, warm, people will warm up to you. Like I said, though, you're traveling, don't be a fool. Don't just like completely let your guard down, because just how it is back here, where there's people who will take advantage of you, you still
Right.
gotta maintain your
Mm-hmm.
wits. Um, I think another way, right? So the way I travel is uncommon. I don't really do these group trips. I don't do tours and stuff like that. I usually book my own car and I drive around like the country, whether left side, right side. That in itself, I go outside of the touristy areas. There's not gonna be people that speak our language and stuff like that. I'm already deep into like their culture, their comfort zone. Um, so I'm always surrounded by that. So no matter what business I go to, I'm already supporting the local, because I'm not going to like a popular global brand like McDonald's or Starbucks while I'm on vacation. It's very rare that I do. It's only if I can't find anything or I need something real cheap on the go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that's how I support the locals, is going out into their communities and, speaking their language. Even if I can't 100% communicate, just, nonverbal cues, body language, just being open with them.
Right.
Bring me back to the question, because I feel like there's a
No,
couple
no,
other.
no, 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 no. You good. You on there. I'm actually about to make a comment. Like,
Uh-huh.
it seems to me, maybe it's me. You may agree or disagree, but it seems to me, Latin countries in particular,
Uh-huh.
it seems to me that every centro,
Uh-huh.
don't go to centro, don't go to centro, bro. That's where the people are. I want to go. Like, like for instance, prime example, Cali. Cali, the Centro. I went to the Centro. The Centro is quote unquote dangerous. Don't go, don't go. Man, I had the best time. I met some amazing people, and I actually met some people that I could connect with business wise, because I went out that uncharted path. Right. The same thing with San Salvador. Don't go to the Centro. Don't go to the Centro. I go out there, man. Those locals are so welcoming, man. The food, the street vendors, the these people are truly what the country stands for. You know what I'm saying? That
Mm.
that the
Put the area-
friendliness, the openness, the hustle, the grind. Man, I appreciate that, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that so much. So, I think to add to what you're saying, to add some context, and then you go ahead on and pitch in with me, is that
Uh,
I feel the same way, that language is a huge barrier that I feel like people should at least try, and then those that are listening, supporting the vendors, man. Support the locals, because at the end of the day, these chains that Jose brought up, McDonald's, Burger King, yes, you could go to the mall and get something Americanized, right, or Europeanized, right. Go out there and mix and mingle with the locals. Buy things that are handmade, handcrafted, food that is fresh. You're watching them cook it right in front of you. The juices, taste the different fruit. Taste the different fruits that are some of these fruits that are actually you know dedicated to this particular country. Um man, like, just diverse yourself. So I'm sorry, I just had to put that in there for people. But yeah, man.
what you said about the
That's
food, though,
yeah.
that's another thing that I like to do. Before I even go on the trip, I look up like what is like indigenous to this area. And when I say indigenous,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean like Native American. I mean native to those people, So like it could
Mm-hmm.
even be in Europe. Like what is like go to Portugal, what are the Portuguese known for? You know? Like it could be like their sausages or like their sandwich. Like for example, I was in Malta, right? I wanted a sandwich called the fatira, and that's like a tuna sandwich with like peppers, tomatoes, onions, olives. You don't really see that in the touristy areas. Like I was up in Valletta. There are some
Mm-hmm.
spots that do it, but the best one I tasted was in this local town just outside of one of the museums that I went to. It was in the Gigantija temple. But anyways, I found it in a cart on the street, this sandwich, and I was like, yo, this is the best one. Now, I did find it on a ferry that I took from Malta to Sicily. They did sell it, but it didn't taste the same. You know, they kind of adapt the taste to like the people that are going to be in those areas. When you go local, you get like those like traditional flavors, that traditional style of making stuff. Even as something as simple as a sandwich, you know.
Yep.
It was another example, you know. They had like these like pumpkin donuts. You don't see that in like the like chain restaurants, you know. You go to McDonald's, you're not gonna get those pumpkin donuts, you know.
Facts.
You're on the street, you know. Like there's so many examples. Like I could talk about like any country I've been to. I go for that authentic, immersive experience. Like, cool, you like McDonald's? Some people are like, yo, I want to try McDonald's in every country. That's cool. But I like to get as much out of the experience that I'm there. I want to be fully present, you know?
Definitely. Definitely. Back to travel, and you told us our method. Any type of apps, any type of you don't seem like a person that's dedicated to airline, but I don't want to speak for you. But any type of apps that you use, or maybe a combination of both, is it Expedia, Kayak? You try to combine everything into one. How do you go about booking it? Booking it.
For booking or like planning my travels? Two different
Yeah,
questions.
kind of planning. Let's
Everything
start
has to
off
be
with
so
planning.
complex.
Yeah. Let's start off with planning.
Planning.
And how you
Number,
go about.
all right. So I look at Google Maps. And the reason why, right? First off, when I'm picking a country, right, spin the globe, whatever, like something like that. Number two, once I actually have a location, I know the different locations I want to hit, I zoom into the map for two reasons. People that live there already have businesses on the map, and I could look at reviews of what people say about those places. Sometimes you're going to have to translate it. The good thing with Google is some of these things that even if they're in another language, you could just hit translate. It translates it to whatever language you speak. Um, that's how I also find some of these places that are off the beaten path. As I zoom in and scroll around the map, I see different points of interest that most blogs and even Instagram, social media, all this stuff, they don't talk about. People don't really go to stuff like that. I find those points of interest, and then since I drive myself in most of these places, I drive to it. Some of these places you're gonna have to hike, but you can see trails all on the map. Like it's all laid out for you if you're willing to put in the homework first. Um, so that's one. Question was apps for the planning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different apps.
The other part I wanted to talk about with like the Google Maps is when I post on Instagram, I try to look for poses or angles that other people are not doing. Like even if other people have been there, I do it in a different way. So I did this when I was in Portugal. Certain spots are pretty popular. However, I bet you didn't take the picture from like the hill all the way across. And like when I look at the map, I have good like visual spatial skills, and I could read maps really well. I could look at different hills and judge the distance and see how that like pictured in my head how I could get like the picture in a different frame. Like I was doing this even before I started like posting content on Instagram. Like I have so many pictures from Portugal that I still haven't posted, and that's from like 2018, 2019. I didn't start doing content until like the middle of 2020, you know? And then for booking flights, Google Flights, that's like my number one. That's where I can see like all the flights. Once I see the flight though, I don't necessarily book it through Google Flights. The reason why is because I want the status so I could earn miles. So what I do, I usually book it through whatever airline app it is. So if it's Delta, I go into the Delta app. And then I already have like my membership in there so I can start earning the miles. use Rakuten if you're smart. Like if you're smart, start thinking, how you could claw back some of this money that you're spending. So you get points, so you could get free flights off of the points. If you got to pay out of pocket, use Rakuten. Sometimes some of these airlines are listed on Rakuten. You get like 1% back. Oh, there you go. You got the shirt. Look at
Shout out to
yeah.
Messi, Barcelona. This throwback, baby, throwback.
It was actually funny when I planned my the engagement trip to Dominica. I booked one of the hotels through IHG, and it was something crazy, like 10% back. And I spent it was an engagement trip, so I went all out. Yo, when I got this last check in August, man, that was the biggest check I ever got from Rakuten. I was like, yo, thank God. And it came out the right time because I was short on money at the time. So it was perfect. What else? It's not an app, but if you have a credit card too, you start clawing some of those points back. Like I used the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. So automatically I get, especially if it's travel based, I get even more points back. So I'm getting married next year. I got engaged this year. I get married next year. We're already starting to talk about like honeymoon. There's a couple countries that we have floating out there. But the majority of our honeymoon is already going to be paid off of those points that I have on my credit card because I haven't touched it in years. And so that's going to be basically a free honeymoon coming up, What else? We was talking about apps to book. I'm not loyal to any airline. Whoever gives me the best deal on price, I'll go with. Every once in a while, if I have enough points accumulated, let's go. Free flight. I did that when I went to Jamaica. My flight was free. But since Jamaica, I went to Jamaica 2020. Since then, it's been like 3 years. I haven't used none of my points. So 3 years of travel, free honeymoon coming up. And it's not just going to be like, oh, it's just a free flight. Nah, we're going to go first class. We're going to have hotel based. Yo, we're going to go all out. Start the marriage off right,
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. I'm so happy for you, bro. So happy, man. Like just to see it's coming, you know what I'm saying? I first of all, I appreciate you for letting us into your life for that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, the anticipation, I was like, man, bro don't look nervous. He don't look nervous. He ready. He ready. And then I seen the video, man, just to see your fiance's face, man, it was absolutely amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Know? Man, that was absolutely amazing, bro. Like any country any country that you feel like I know you do the preparation. Any country that truly, if you could think about all the countries you travel to, and this question may be hard to answer because you might have so many ones that shocked you, but countries that truly shocked you, even though you did your research, when you got there, you was like, wow. Like I should have been here a few years. I should have been here. I should have been traveling here a few years ago. This country is absolutely amazing, awesome.
All right, let me think about it and bring it down to like one. Belize.
Wow, bro. And that one close to me, and I still haven't touched it, man. I still haven't touched it.
You gotta go to Belize. The thing is, and this is another one that's been gaining popularity, but people like where most people travel to is just like the islands off the coast. So San Pedro, it's where most of the people go to. That's where all the resorts are, right on the water, crystal clear blue water, turquoise water. You got the sharks out there and everything. Like baby sharks, you know what I'm saying? Not some crazy thing, but it's beautiful, beautiful resorts. I did not go over there. I stayed on the mainland. It was actually the first international trip that me and my fiance took as boyfriend. We weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend yet. We was just dating at that time. When I tell you the adventure was out of this world, it was out of this world. We went, we had no phone service. All I had was a paper map. And I drove throughout the entire country. I drove through jungles. There was some bridges, road bridges.
Yeah.
Collapsed into rivers. And I drove like this big SUV sideways. And the SUV did not flip over, didn't land in the river or nothing like that. It was like out of a movie. you know. And then we rode through like rainforests, like in the SUV. I was on so the highways out there, they're not like American highways. It's literally like 2-lane road, one lane going this way, one lane going this way. No street lights. I remember there's a town called Placencia. We stayed in Hopkins. That's like a 2-hour drive. I remember, and the sun had already set. We were down in Placencia. I was trying to go back to where we were staying in Hopkins. And on the way out, there was a police checkpoint. The police came so I drove up to the cop because they had the gate right there. And he comes up to the window and he's like, let me see your license. So I showed him my passport and my license. And he's like, where are you going? I told him we're going to Hopkins. He's like, do you know how to get there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you do realize there's no lights out there. I was like, yeah, so? And he's like, are you sure you still want to drive out there? Let's do it. He's like, yo, God be with you. Gave me my passport.
That's what the cop said.
Yeah. I left the town. I did that first turn onto the main road. Pitch blackness. There's nothing. Like, I'm just driving. And I remember I would be driving and out of nowhere, I would feel like on the side of my car just go woof. And it would be like another car with no headlights just beaming right past me, or like motorcycles. Like, yo, it was crazy. Like that, it's straight out of a movie. You don't know. Like, and the thing is, with Belize, one of the things that they talk about is that there's cartels that use Belize to transport whatever they're transporting to Mexico, to Guatemala. Like, you don't know. There could be like a mystery checkpoint right there. You know, they could lay out like spike strips to blow out your tires. You know, like they could surround your car. They could crash into your car. No one would know. There's no phone service. There's no street lights. It's just road and ditch on the side of you, or like jungle. Like, and we made it. It was a 2-hour drive. We made it in like an hour and 10 minutes. I was beaming. It was crazy, man.
Come on, bro. They say Belize City is the city. Well, that's what they say. It's a city that's going through some turmoil. That's what they say.
That's an understatement. Yeah, it's pretty rough out there.
Really?
Yeah. But
yeah, bro.
The rest of the country is beautiful. It's an adventure, man. We went into like some cave. It's called the ATM cave. ATM is something in like Mayan. And to get to it, you have to go through the jungle, cross 3 rivers, swim into the cave. Remember, I can't swim. So it's actually funny. The guy who was leading the trip into the cave was like a Belizean Marine, some brolic dude, right? No one had any life jackets. Everyone could swim. I'm the only one who can't swim. Yo, I had to go on his back like this, and he had to swim. Yo, it was the most like unmanly thing on earth, man. But yo, it's crazy. But anyways, once you swim into the cave, you gotta like climb up rocks and like climb through the cave. You have like flashlights on your head, lamps, and you're like walking through the cave and you're like climbing the cave. And then towards the end of the cave, it's called the Crystal Lady, if I remember correctly. There's a actual mine. So the Mayans used to do sacrifices inside of this cave. They sacrifice someone in there, threw the body in there, and the body is like crystallized. So it's a skeleton and it's just like sparkling. It's straight up like crystal. It's crazy. Out of this world, man. Insane.
Bro, that sounds like some Indiana Jones type shit.
Bro.
And this podcast is explicit, so I had to drop that part. Bro.
Nah, yo, Belize is so much adventure, so raw. Like, out of all the places I've been to, this is like the most adventure I ever had in my life. And this was like an introduction of like me and my fiance now into like travel. I mean, we went to New Orleans as our first trip. It was a 3-day trip.
Yeah. Shout out to Nola, man. Shout out to home.
Oh, good. Yo, amazing food, man. But outside of that New Orleans trip, the first time that we ever went on the trip together was Belize. And it was just like, yo, everything was just like so raw. It's like legit, you're in like Indiana Jones movie. That's if you stay on the mainland. Now, if you go to where all the tourists be going to, Yeah, you take like a little puddle jumper that's like this little seaplane, and you have
Yeah,
resorts. Typical thing that you're used to, that you see in all these other like Dominican Republic, Mexico, stuff like
yeah.
that.
You get a little cart, get a cart. Yeah.
Yeah, but out
Hmm.
in like the mainland, you had the Mayan ruins, the Mayan temples. There was a bridge that too, like so we were riding horses through this town called San Ignacio. It's like near the Guatemalan border. So we rode horses through like the town, and then to get to this, it's probably the most famous ruins out there. It's called Chunantunich. Um, Once you go with the horse, there's like a little river, and there's a bridge, but it's not a bridge that goes from one side to the other side, like connected. It's like a little piece of like road, like a that's maybe like 1/5. It's like not even completed, and it's like attached to cables, and you have to hand crank that little piece of road across the river. It's it's insane. And then once you get up there, you have to like so we took the horse on that little bridge that you had a hand crank across the river. Got to the other side, ride the horse back all the way up on top of the hill. You get to the Mayan ruin site, Chunantunich, and it's amazing. You could go to the top of the temple and you see like all across the entire canopy of like trees of the jungle, and you see into like Guatemala. It's amazing views. And there's like bats inside the cave. I remember seeing tarantulas in the holes of the ground, like coming out, picking stuff up. And then howler monkeys. You know what a howler monkey is?
Yeah, that's the ones with the big mouths.
Yeah, but they're small. They're
Yeah,
small monkeys.
yeah,
So those monkeys, if you watch Jurassic Park and you hear the roar of the
yeah.
T
The
Rex,
Jungle Book too. That's how I remember.
those are
Yeah,
the howler monkeys. So we saw howler monkeys. You hear them roar, like yo, they sound monstrous, man. And then you actually see them, and they're like some small monkeys too. It's crazy, but they're mischievous, yo. Like they'll pick stuff up and they'll throw it at you too from the top of the
bro.
tree.
Speaking of Guatemala, you're actually talking about a country that's connected to the previous guest, Tani. Tani brought up that Guatemala actually surprised her. She was surprised by Guatemala. So
Yeah,
I got to get there too, man. So now it's just confirmation. You bringing up Belize, she brought up Guatemala. I got to hit up both of them now. I got to. I got to.
100%.
I
It's
got to.
crazy. It's crazy. I think because of how American media and the news has been over the last like 30 years, last 3 decades.
Yep. I don't
And
even watch it, bro.
there you go. Yeah, for good reason. Like there's so much negativity on there. But
Hmm.
you hear about how like Central America is all corrupt. The only country I've been to so far in Central America has been Belize. Eventually, I will go to Guatemala, El Salvador, Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, all of those. Um, that's not to say crime doesn't exist. Crime exists everywhere. You know, you just got to be smart about how you do. Just do your research. But
Yep.
Central America has been so underrated for so long. Like people are scared to go. So we already have these like thoughts in our head that it's gonna be some type of way. It's just jungle. People are poor. It's just mudslides and stuff like that. And then when you actually go there, yo, your standards are so low. You go there, your mind is gonna be blown off the rip. You know?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to explore those two because the infrastructure is a lot. I'm gonna be honest. The infrastructure is a lot different in El Salvador and Costa Rica. Costa Rica has the most expats, right? That lives in Central. They have the best infrastructure. Their currency is the strongest. El Salvador, on the other hand, they're an up and coming country. They were the first country to actually purchase Bitcoin. They
Yeah.
accept Bitcoin in their country, so it's pretty interesting, and the infrastructure is pretty good. You know, it's
And
it's it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Um, man, I want to ask you, and I always bring this up about this. It's kind of like a two-parted question about this statistic, and from a minority perspective as a whole, when I tell you these numbers, and I want to get your reaction and your thoughts. Domestically in the United States, no matter if you're African American or Hispanic, only 49%, bro. Only 49% of people in that particular group set subset
mm,
travels domestically. Only 17% travel internationally. When I throw these numbers at you, what's your thought process? When I throw these numbers at you, like, what's the first thing you think about, and what can we do? And I think that's the reason why I'm so excited to continue to push with this podcast, is because they got people like us, and we both know as content creators, bro, that we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone, and that's why we want to get the message out there so this percentage can go up, so that our stories can be told. So, but when I bring up these numbers, man, how do you feel about that? What do you think about when I bring these numbers up?
It's the systems that are in place.
Mm-hmm.
The society that we have now is stuff that goes back centuries. It goes back to the foundations of the country.
Yep.
It's written into the laws.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where we live. Think about how we were born. You know. Yeah. A lot. It's the systems we have in place. Systems determine your chances of moving onwards and upwards. Determines your mobility to an extent. You could always break that though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also, with the systems, who else prior to us in our generations, like going back in your own family, who else was traveling? Um, the likelihood, if you didn't have that type of role model traveling or increasing the finances and stuff like that, chances are it's going to be a lot more difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Right.
Nothing
Right.
is impossible. Even with
Right.
these statistics and stuff like that, if no one in your family has done it, guess what? You could do it. Put your mind to it, It don't matter what's in your way, break past it. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's impossible. You put enough effort into it, you could break that. Finances is a big one. Like I said, I wasn't really traveling. Besides Puerto Rico, growing up, I didn't travel. I didn't start traveling until after I graduated college and after I started my job. Once I started paying down some of the debts, I was like, all right, now it's time. Let's see what the hype is about. And that's when I took my first trip ever.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. I'm actually the first person and I love my family, man. I'm actually the first person in my immediate family, like I'm talking about, like mom, dad, sister, brother, um, aunts, uncles, immediate family. I'm like the first person in my family, bro, to ever leave the country, bro.
yeah,
Ever.
yeah.
Like, to ever leave the country. And that means a lot. That
That's
means a
huge.
lot. That means a lot to
That's
me. Yeah,
huge.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
bro. My dad is 68 years old, man,
Hmm.
and has never left the country. Never in life, bro. Never.
Yeah.
So I've
Precise.
always been the oddball out. That's why this episode is so important to me. It's so important to for people to listen to this so they can grow. That's the reason why I saved this episode for the last episode, because it goes into that mindset. You and I and other people that are listening to this, where we're the what you call the people that go to Uncharted path, the people that's somewhat defiant, somewhat defiant. You know what I mean? Like, because some of these countries that we go to, if you look at the levels of security when you go on these government websites, and you say that the countries is a level 3 and a level 4, i.e. Colombia.
Mm.
Colombia is always a level 3 and a level 4. And I'm not saying that things don't happen in Colombia. That's not what I'm saying. But I felt like I went to Cali. Cali is considered one of the most dangerous cities in Colombia. I felt the safest in Cali. I felt safe. I'm not saying I wasn't naive. I wasn't paying attention to my environment, but at the end of the day, the message is you have to go see for yourself. No matter if you're using these methods like Jose is saying, and combining it with some of the things that I'm saying, like actually going on the map, looking at the area, doing your research. But go over there and get a feel for the country yourself. You know, and that's the message. And I have a two part message that I wanna wrap up this amazing episode with. The first one, man, which you already alluded to it, but you can go as deep as you want.
Mm.
The reason why I feel like why is a very powerful word, y'all. Why is the reason that we do the things that we do, whether that be work. Sometimes we do things we don't want to do, right, to support ourselves and support our families. but your why has to be strong enough. No matter if it's motivation to travel, motivation to pursue your goals, your dreams, your why has to be strong enough. So I want to know your why as to why you want to travel the world. And then the second part of that question, and I can bring the question back up if you forget it. The second part of that question is to the people that are borderline listening to our message, enjoying the content, but still on the fence, man. Still on the fence. A message that you can share with them to motivate them to get out of their comfort zone and go to uncharted path.
Okay. So the first question, right? Why? It's like you said, it's two parts. Every question you ask me, man, is so complex. But
That just means I'm a good interviewer.
that's it, man. Um, so initially, why I started traveling was for that sense of freedom. When you're here and when you're surrounded by the people that have always known you, they know you one way, right? You go someplace new, no one knows you. You could be whoever you want to be, right? So I've always been that hard worker, putting in a lot of hours at work. I go to another country, they don't know that. I'm free. I can smile as much as I want. I don't gotta be hard all the time. I don't gotta always be on. I could, enjoy myself. I could relax. I could breathe, you know. That's how it started. And now even like why do I vacation, right? I vacation to feel free. I'm always working. Like even my peers, they call me up, they send me messages, yo, where you at? I'm at work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Facts.
that's what it is. And then it started developing. The reason why I got into content creation was to inspire other people to get out and travel. Like how we talked about when you brought up the statistic. Sometimes we didn't have that role model. I didn't have that role model with traveling and stuff like that. All these places that I'm going to, some of them were in textbooks that I saw when I was growing up. Some of them were on the Travel Channel. I could only dream of going to these places. Shoot, even Cuba that I said was my number one place that I want to visit on Earth. Growing up, guess what? It was illegal to even go to Cuba, being from the United States.
Facts.
I'm not Cuban, but yo, why is it illegal to go there? Why are they cut off from the world? And then you see like pictures and you hear that they're like frozen in time. Yo, that intrigued me, But going back to it, right? Because that was a little tangent with the whole Cuba. I'm excited about.
No, you good, bro. You good. Wherever you flow with it, bro.
Yeah,
you good.
So it's to inspire people. Not everyone had that role model, and then so I was like, I started doing some things that other people have never done. They didn't even think it's possible. But guess what? Like I started doing the content creation, and now, literally, I was talking to my fiance about it. Like today's Thursday, it was on Monday. Coming out of Walmart, at the gym, on IG, different people that I went to high school with have hit me up and they're like, yo, bro, like you're traveling the world. Like, yo, you left the town that we're from. Like, what the crap? Like, I want to do that. One guy that I met at the gym, he's like, yo, because what I seen you do, I took my first trip out of the country ever last year, and it was to Bali. I've never been to Bali, and now I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get you. But so it's like, who's inspiring who, So if I touch touch one person to be inspired and do different stuff, yo, it's a ripple effect. That person can inspire other people to do that, and then you're showing other people that it's possible, right? Just how like these systems are in place to not allow us to like progress and stuff like that. A lot of it is mindset. You never seen it happen. You never see yourself. And it doesn't even have to be someone of like your own race. It's someone that you look up to, someone that you have a connection with. If you see them doing it, yo, guess what? If he did it, I could do it too. She did it, I could do it too. It's a possibility.
Facts.
And what was your second question? I lost it, right?
No, you good, bro. The second question is you kind of already got them off their seat motivated, right? But the second part of the question is what's a message that you can give to the people that's listening to this episode, the finale of season 1, that you can give them to the people that's kind of on the fence, man, that they grew up in these systems. They they watch the news. People filled their head with fear. Really, all it is fear, to be honest with you, bro. But a message that you can give to the people that are on that's riding that fence, bro. That want to explore, but they just afraid to take the leap. What could you tell them to get them over that hump?
So they're already on the fence.
Yep, they're on the fence.
Okay, so it's
Because
already
we've been dropping gems all this episode. They on the fence. Trust me.
So if you're on the fence, that means you already thought about doing the travel. So, and this is something that like has been going through my mind recently. We all go through things. So the question is, on my last day on Earth, am I gonna look back on my life and say, "Yo, did I wish I could have done that?" Or can I get to like my final breath and say, "Yo, I did that," whether good or bad, right? It could have been a good experience, it could have been a bad experience, but guess what? I did that. No one else could take that away from me. I did it. I experienced it. And guess what? You might be saying, "Oh, but what if it's a bad experience?" But what if it's a good one? What if you enjoy it? What if you feel the most liberated that you ever felt? I just finished saying, I feel the most liberated. Maybe that's a similar, sentiment that you're going to have. So, Aston, right? You said you came from a dark place, brought you into light.
Man. Yeah,
so
man.
What if defense, and what if that's that one little thing that's going to help make you look at things in a different light and see that there is so much more to life. There's so much more better. What if there's something that you could take away from that experience that would improve yourself? What if you tasted a new flavor? You tasted the best food in your life ever. Yo, you never know. Do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
It already crossed your mind.
Definitely. You said a lot. You said a lot with that last statement, man. And I hope the people
going back to Dominica. I can't swim. I jumped a 40-foot waterfall. Can I still swim? No. I did it. I did it. Yeah, man. So
facts. Just like me, man. That's motivated me to get back in the gym because I was a former collegiate athlete in college through the javelin. But I hiked the highest. I'm proud to say that I hiked the highest volcano in El Salvador, which is Santa Ana. Yeah, man. I hiked the highest volcano. It's a challenge. It's a 2.5 hour hike up, 2.5 hour hike down. Right.
Nice.
But I didn't quit. I kept pushing. I was not in shape when I hiked this mountain. But when I got up there, man, I felt liberated. And at that moment is when I had the epiphany, like, I'm really trying to cancel my life over what? Look how beautiful this earth that God created. Like, no matter what y'all believe in, it's just like, look at this beauty. Like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, what the heck? So yeah, man. So that's what it done for me, man. That's what it done for me. And I hope that people, truly gravitate to the message that was shared today. Jose, brother, you already know, man. Much love here. Always, man. I really do appreciate you. Like I said, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I was a fan before I was a friend. You motivated me to go to a few places that I've been. And man, we just got to continue down that path. We, being in this space, is being in this space, man, is you have to have a certain mindset to even be in this space to motivate people to do it, right? So we're going down some of these uncharted places to where whenever you do decide to go, you have people that's been there that's able to share some insight. And man, brother, I really do appreciate you, man, for coming on, dropping so many gems. But before we get off, again, I just want to share with the people that's listening and watching, if you're really vibing with the podcast, be sure to leave a review. lastly, be sure to follow my boy Jose. So, man, I'll leave it up to you to go down and share your social handles, so man, so people can follow you, so people can support you. Go on and drop all your information that you want to share. And again, man, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Before I even get into all that, thank you, man, for inviting me out here. You know, we don't know how many people listen to it. Maybe you have the statistics on that, but yo, even if it's just one person, man, that's that ripple effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Um,
doing numbers, bro. I'm gonna tell you.
oh,
It's doing numbers. It's
I
doing
bet.
numbers, bro.
I want to
It's
hear
doing
it.
numbers.
Yo,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Downloads. What Fat Joe said? Yesterday's price.
not
It's
today's right.
not today's price.
There
Things
you go.
going smooth, man, and it's only up from here, man. And
Yeah,
I just appreciate you for, you know what I'm saying, really, truly, honestly. I've always had you locked in as that last episode for season 1 because you're the type of person that brings the message home. You know what I'm saying? That nails it home, man. That people go out there and explore, man. See the world. Yes, you can go to these popular destinations. Nothing's wrong with that. Go off the Uncharted path. Go off the Uncharted path. Look at the map like Jose is telling you, and find a country that resonates with you. Try some of these methods that he's tried, and some of these things that we shared, on this episode, man. So I'm super excited to the people, the ones that listen to this episode and you're touched by it. Whether you reach out to me or you reach out to Jose, make sure that you share that with us. We love to get that feedback as creators. We love to get that feedback that y'all took something from this and were able to go to some amazing destinations, man. And like I said, Jose, I appreciate you again. Coming on, man, and you already know my motto. I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace.
too crowded.